Hello, and welcome to Inconceivable. I'm William.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Wesley. And we are Venom.
We are all really excited because we all just saw the Venom movie.
As always, we're excited.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'm actually really annoyed that I said that now.
We're not excited.
Jazz hands.
So, spoiler talk. There's really no... I mean, you could talk about this, no spoilers, but that's not how we do things here. So
Technically, we've already talked about it a couple times, though we didn't have spoilers. So this is a spoiler talk because we actually watched the movie.
We've talked about it too much to have a non-spoiler than spoiler talk about this.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we've been here a few times already, so...
Yeah.
And we're going to be here
too bad.
time.
Yeah. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely go see. If not, feel free to skip 20 minutes from now when we're on our next subject.
Or if you just don't care, then watch,
Yeah,
but we say you should go see it.
If you're on the fence about it and need a convincing argument,
we will push you over that fence.
We feel confident that because you should go see it.
Yeah, let's just say that we all really liked it. And if you've been keeping track of how it's doing, critics are kind of like about it, but viewers, like audiences, are just, they love it.
Yeah.
It's done twice as good as A Star Is Born, and like supposedly that's a really good movie. And it's just like everybody's going to see Venom.
If you've seen this
big
movie,
news to that movie.
Yeah.
If you've seen this movie, you know exactly what we're talking about. However, if someone's on the fence listening to this, not sure if they want to see it, why is this the case?
Why should they go see it?
No. Why is everybody on the fence? And like, you want to talk us through the process about what's controversial and...
I guess
I was thinking...
critics are saying that it's tonally confused, air quotes.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like they're being nitpicky with this one. My only issue with it was that some of the pacing later on in the movie is a little fast. But I really feel like that was just because they didn't have time to cover those things. But they just put it in there because it's important and you need to know. You know, like, this is important. So, like... For instance, the reason that Eddie Brock's fiance ends their engagement is kind of extreme. Like, it just struck me as a little... It struck me as a little extreme. Yeah, he did something really stupid, but...
They didn't have, like, a fight. It just kind of was just over.
Yeah, but I was like, engagements are really important, so...
Well, not only that, but they, like... You could make this more believable if you didn't spend the first 10 minutes of the movie really setting up how... That's what really bothers me.
Easy fix for this.
Don't show any of that.
Or shown the opposite of it, that they maybe were having a hard time, and this was like was the kicker,
because they literally started off as like, hey, today's date night, right?
I know, they're so happy together.
It's like, they're cute.
Yeah. So they spend all this time trying to get you invested that these two are really like meant for each other, and then she just breaks it. I was like,
and instead of making me sad, I was like, well, that didn't make sense.
Like, literally. I think it does kind of make sense, though, because he just made her lose her job, which is a big part of her
The reason
career.
makes sense. The way she does it is what doesn't make sense. Yeah. No, I get...
Or there's no, like, she needs to talk it out.
Here's the thing, is, like, I think, like, she just lost her job. She's furious, especially at him, and then... Maybe it would have been better if she didn't see him right as she was walking out the door. Maybe it would have been...
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's hard to see a relationship that's come to the point of being engaged ruined in one day over, like, one thing. Even with how big it is.
Without an argument.
Exactly.
I say, if they had a fight where it's like, this is a problem, or fighting about it, and then the fight was a bad fight, so then it escalated. Yeah. That's how I see that going.
Instead of, like, you... were very predictable. That's the other thing, is like that was predictable of him to be like that in the interview.
She literally asked her, "Are you going to behave yourself?"
He said no. Exactly. So like I'm being mad at you because you're predictable and I lost my career, like, because of, like, you made me lose my job. Okay, like, maybe she gets another job and it's a good one later on.
Maybe what they're trying to convey is that because she says that he's predictable, she half expected this, so it's not a surprise to her that this happened. Yeah. I don't know. And I mean, either way, it's not clear.
Exactly. And anyway, like, I didn't actually think these things were that big a deal, so I don't want to talk about them like they didn't really bother me.
That was just the first kind of weird. That was like,
I felt like there was stuff missing from the movie.
I was just,
like, it was condensed.
Yeah, I was just like, kind of like, oh, well, that was a little extreme, and then I would forget about it like 5 minutes later as the movie kept going. Another one was towards the end where, like, they're in the woods and Venom is like, the truth is, I'm kind of a loser on my planet too, and I like Earth. I want to stay here. Like, I was that's cool, but where did that come from? Yeah. And
I'm sure. I just feel like, well, that's another thing that kind of, I don't know. I feel like Venom never had a moment to speak to the audience.
Not a moment of clarity, I think, where he switches around.
Yeah, there wasn't even a note where he had time to be like, oh, this moment makes me think about how I'm a loser. Like, there wasn't an example of anything.
It should have been tied to something that happened.
And I feel like there easily could have been that moment and they cut it out or something.
Yeah, probably. But again, those are really only my 2 issues, and they didn't bother me like a ton. I really enjoyed Venom, like, a lot.
Yeah, but that's like the only negative thing. Because once you're just like, oh, that was kind of odd, but once you accepted that, it was all
yeah, because the movie was super fun, and Tom Hardy, he just killed it. Like, his acting was just great. Like, he's phenomenal.
He was literally the perfect Eddie Brock. Like,
yeah, it was really good.
Perfect.
And it still doesn't fit nicely, nicely into this category. But if I had to give it a genre, I would say it was like a dark comedy.
Right. And see, that's the thing is that the trailers did a terrible job of representing that. The trailers did not make you think this was a dark comedy, so you go into it and not even a hint of comedy. That's the big thing.
No, they hinted comedy, but it just felt really out of place in the trailers, and then it worked in the movie.
Yeah, because it looked like the typical comedy you'd see thrown into a typical action movie kind of stuff.
Yeah,
where it's
again,
they were in action, but we still have a joke here and there. You know.
Yeah, they showed us like the end scene where he's like saying you're gonna be a little turd in the wind in the trailers, which I don't really care for. I wish that they would leave like the end stuff.
Not. I thought that scene would be earlier in the movie when it's actually
at the literally at the very end.
I mean, I didn't really feel like that was that great, but I think it worked a little bit better after knowing the character of Venom in the movie as opposed to in the trailer.
Exactly. And I understand why critics would say it was tonally confused, but I don't agree.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand where they're coming from. And another thing is that I was trying to say is that for some reason I had in my head, and I'm fairly certain that this is from Spider-Man 3, that Venom was supposed to be a personality like no personality.
Either no personality or
like
just
just a monster that's just like an alien that just wants to take over the world with no action. Yeah. And maybe it's just because I think it's a combination of Spider-Man 3, unfortunately. Not that I was comparing this Venom to that at all, but that's the only
one you had to compare to.
Right. But that being said, I know from video games and the TV shows that Venom is a very sassy kind of like this Venom is very accurate to the comics.
Wasn't there a comic where he literally stopped fighting Spider-Man just to save a kid from walking into the road or something, and then he chastised the mother for not taking care of her kid or something?
It sounds familiar.
I think he did that. I haven't read the.
And there's been times where Venom's teamed up with Spider-Man for like legitimate good things.
When they came up with the idea for Carnage, it was literally like, we're going a different direction with Venom. As far as he's becoming an anti-hero, we're going a different direction with Venom, and it would be nice to have a more powerful foe for Spider-Man and Venom to team up, to need to team up to fight.
Because Venom's such a good anti-hero.
And you know what's funny is there's such a fad for that right now, but Venom actually is a good one because like you've got Wolverine is an anti-hero. DC has turned Black Adam into an anti-hero when he was originally like a villain for Shazam. And now Venom. And the funny thing is that...
Is Deadpool an anti-hero? Kind of is.
Yeah, Deadpool's an anti-hero too.
It's like the edgy heroes, I guess. The ones that do things that don't make you very comfortable.
Yeah.
Because one thing I was thinking was... because another thing, because yes, even though this Venom was very comic book accurate, one thing that will bug people who are big on the comics is the fact that Spider-Man's not in this movie. That being said...
it's not connected to Spider-Man itself. Like, that's what the symbiote was all about originally, right? Like, it got to Spider-Man, hated him, went to Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
That being all said, I feel like not having that at their disposal, they did the most logical thing. I don't want to say I like what they did because I would still prefer Spider-Man to be a part of it, but
considering he can't be,
I couldn't think of a better way.
If he was part of it, then we would see Venom as more of a villain than as a hero.
Yeah.
And what did you guys think of? I didn't even notice it at all. I was only aware of it because I had read about it. but Venom doesn't actually have the spider symbol in the movie like he normally does.
He's got sort of like
he
this.
Normally does.
Yeah,
it's like white vein.
Yeah,
which I thought was a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because since he hasn't met Spider-Man, it wouldn't make sense for him to have a Spider-Man logo.
Yeah, no.
So like the white, like that was a cool way to incorporate.
And he didn't use webs
white
per se, but it felt like it seemed webby enough. If that makes any sense.
Venom has never used webs. It was always like
the symbiote.
Yeah, for Spider-Man, it was like just thin tendrils that mimicked.
Yeah.
Like, and then Venom is more like the
right.
Yeah. Like grabs. You can't see what I'm doing. Those of you who are listening, but I'm like
he's flinging his arms
like
around.
flinging my arm. Yeah, because it's like he like grabs it and stuff.
Horizontal jazz hands.
Horizontal. Yeah, horizontal. Just throw your hands out in front of you. Jazz hands. Yeah.
I can put your hands up.
Clap, 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 clap.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
There was, because this movie was funny in a really good way too. Like, and I was not expecting that, and it took me a while to get accustomed to that. I didn't realize I was watching a movie that was going to be this funny because I laughed a lot.
I wasn't expecting the symbiote to be so, sassy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it took me a second to get used to that.
I was also surprised by a lot of the language that he used. Like, he used a lot of sort of nuances in language that we use as humans, but I didn't know that he would say stuff like that.
They're intelligent.
Well, he's in
just the way people
in Eddie's head.
Here. So is he picking stuff up off of Eddie's
How
head?
else would he know English in the first place? It's not like he knew English in the first place on not being on Earth. So
and he only used loser and stuff after he had heard Eddie say it. So and got the idea.
Parasite. Stop calling me that.
Yeah. He doesn't like being called a parasite.
I don't know how much you know about Venom's
It's
backstory,
offensive.
but it's the not being able to sync with any person. Is that normal? Is that how it is in the comics? Like I don't
remember that actually.
Yeah,
I don't remember
because Spider-Man 3 definitely didn't portray that.
Here's the thing: is Venom takes most of its inspiration from a fairly unique Venom storyline called I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the particular Venom storyline that paints him as more of an anti-hero, and I don't know how many things are different in that storyline than from normal.
Is it Agent Venom?
No, it's not Agent Venom, because Agent Venom is actually Flash Thompson.
Really?
Yep.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah. Flash Thompson actually has a really cool comic book arc. He starts out as Peter, like a bully for Peter Parker, and then he goes away to war, loses the ability to use his legs, and then he bonds with the symbiote, and the symbiote not only gives him use of his legs again, but he becomes like a government agent. It's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Flash Thompson is, he was a bully in the Spider-Man movies and comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, one thing that's really made me realize, though, is what a big disservice Spider-Man 3 did to Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like this whatsoever.
No.
No character in either Venom or Eddie Brock. Neither of them had any personality.
Yeah.
I think you're able to see a lot more in this movie how down on his luck Eddie Brock is, because after he goes against the bad corporation, I forget the name of it, I thought it was generic, but basically after he went against them, they stopped him from being able to get a job anywhere, basically, and you were able to see that, and I was like, yeah, he's living a pretty sucky life right now, as opposed to in Spider-Man 3 where Eddie Brock's just like, hey, please, no other newspaper company will hire me. It's like, you can still get a job, buddy. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
As opposed to this one.
But he couldn't at all.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through pictures of Eddie Brock, because...
Also, I didn't watch that 70s show before I watched Spider-Man 3, but going back and looking at it, it's really weird to see the actor from that being a bad guy. It just
in Spider-Man 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember, I know him from that 70s show.
Yeah.
He's Eric. Yeah.
And see, that's something that they did really cool, because I remember from the Spider-Man... Yeah, because in Spider-Man 3, Venom is just a straight-up villain. Eddie Brock is a villain.
He comes out of nowhere.
Villain. Yeah. In this, you are way more sympathetical, and you're rooting for him in this, and I think that's going to be incorporated in the MCU like I'm sure they wanted to.
They really want it to.
Yeah.
They really do.
Then that would offer a really cool dynamic to the team, because he's not that's the thing, is a greater problem arises and they end up teaming up, but he's not exactly a good person. He's just teaming up for now. And so that would actually work really well in the MCU. And I feel like I stand by what I said, being that this is the most MCU-like movie that isn't actually official MCU,
Yeah, and it keeps turning out to be true that Sony would like to have this be like grafted in to the MCU.
Yeah.
And after watching the movie, I was actually surprised. Like, I was surprised because I was like, you know what? The way, like, that Venom would fit with Tom Holland's Spider-Man because of the humor. Maybe they would tone down some of how dark it was, but it wasn't graphic.
Yeah.
I think that might have been part of why the critics were so critical about this movie, because we originally thought that it was going to be like a hardcore rated R movie.
Like a Logan style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like something
super
like that.
gritty.
Really dark. And I think that might have been what threw people off, especially when they said, oh yeah, this movie's going to be PG-13. Which,
when they did that, I was like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it
like,
did.
After watching the movie, I was fine.
I'm also not on that side of like things need to be rated R so they can be more fun. I don't go see a lot of R-rated movies. I was
ready to consider that going into it, but after coming out of it, no. You can't say that making this movie R would have made it that much better. Really, like the only things it would have done is that would allow them to swear more and be a little bit more graphic. But there wasn't anything after seeing their version of a Venom movie. There wasn't anything in that movie that I felt like really warranted them to go the extra mile to make it rated R.
And honestly, if it was more bloody and gritty, then I think I would have liked the Venom character less, in my opinion. Yeah, well, I
think it would make it harder.
He's supposed to be anti-hero, so like I need to have that some sort of hero aspect where he's not being a jerk to regular people, which was,
biting people's heads off.
That was one of the things that I remember somebody in a review was mentioning it. It was kind of odd to think about how he was going against the SWAT guys, who are just regular guys doing their job. They're not bad people, and he's still flailing them. He's using one guy to beat all the other guys, which was funny.
He's like, no, don't need them. We don't need cops.
Yeah, but still, I was like, that's still rough to watch, I think. I mean, it's okay if you're going against a bad guy.
What I think is cool is, like, fans loved this movie so much, there will be a sequel.
Yeah.
And it's
doing well in the box office.
Yeah, exactly. It's doing really well in the box office, and they already teased Carnage, and I think they picked a good actor.
I thought was very surprising. I did not see that coming, but
I saw it coming.
Right when they opened the door and I saw a red-headed guy in a cage, I'm like, is that Carnage? And then he turned around. It took me a split second to be like, wait,
it's Cletus Cassidy.
That's Woody Harrelson.
It's Woody Harrelson. And Woody Harrelson was probably not on a lot of people's radar for Carnage, but I think Woody Harrelson fits next to Tom Hardy as far as like getting actors that are in the same like spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say. I think it works well considering who they cast for Venom.
I think it threw me off.
Because they have to match a little bit.
I think it threw me off a little bit just because I had recently just watched Solos and I see him in that one.
Yeah.
And then it goes straight to, Woody Harrelson with red curly hair and being crazy.
I checked because I wasn't actually that familiar with the way Cletus Cassidy looks.
Yeah.
They did a really good job. Woody Harrelson looks like Cletus Cassidy.
Well, because another thing is that... great pick on Venom because Tom Hardy does a really good job of expressing emotions.
And you need like a bigger, more rugged-looking guy, right? Because Eddie Brock's kind of a rugged guy,
and
so it's good.
It's such a perfect casting for Eddie Brock. And in addition to that, Woody Harrelson, he doesn't get to do it enough as he should, but does a really good job of playing like a psycho.
Does he really? Okay.
No, because you don't see it in Star Wars.
Yeah,
he's just like a double crosser. Yeah. But in other, what's the other movie?
2012. Have you seen that movie?
Is he a bad guy in that?
No, he was a crazy guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, because one thing that he'll have to pull off, and Carnage is a really dark character. Like, he's seriously messed up.
It was kind of cheesy when he said that it will be Carnage. It's like...
It was a little bit cheesy, but I was kind of like, I get it, yeah. But, like...
I see what you did there.
They'll have to tone it down a little bit, but I still want Carnage to be that kind of character where, like... I don't know. Carnage is, like... It's creepy. Like, He's really dangerous. I was going somewhere with that. Oh, there will be a second one. So I feel like this might like redefine Venom for like, because you know how that happens sometimes. Is like you adapt something and then it becomes the new way that you view it.
Yeah. Kind
of what happened to Wolverine. Even though I don't like that.
The comics for like the movies nowadays are affecting the comics.
Kind of like what happened with Wolverine, even though I don't like that. Or like what happened with like Iron Man. Iron Man, they didn't really change anything about Iron Man, but it made him really popular. And so he started appearing in comic books more too.
Maybe they took the sassiness from Robert Downey Jr. a little bit more in the comics.
I think they did because I think Iron Man is a little bit more of a respectable guy in the before Robert Downey Jr. started playing him. He was still kind of a jerk, but I think they've made him more sassy since Robert Downey Jr.'s played him.
Side note from Venom, one of the things I do really appreciate is that Tony Stark has really grown in the last couple of movies. Like, he's gone from being a kind of a dirtbag to someone who, he's working really hard to protect people.
Can we talk about that for a second? The Russo brothers confirmed that one of the original 6 will die and one of the original 6 will retire in Avengers 4.
Chris Evans just tweeted that he's saying, I've just wrapped up with Avengers 4.
But here's the thing. He didn't say he was done. It was still vague, and I think I don't know what's wrong with IGN right now, but they've been jumping to conclusions all over the place.
Well,
about
they
everything
want to.
lately.
That's what gets people.
But they did
with
did with the Superman stuff.
And, see, here's the thing.
Somebody did the same thing with Mark Ruffalo in his interview with.
See, that's what I'm saying. If this was if Mark Ruffalo tweeted this, it would be different. But Chris Evans is not one to let stuff out that wasn't supposed to be out. He's very good about it. So this feels very planned. And
he wouldn't.
This wouldn't be allowed if.
However, I still think that Cap will die and Tony will retire.
I think it's the other way around.
You think it's the other way around? Okay.
Yeah, I do want to get back to Venom, but something that
I just wanted to hear your guys'.
Yeah, I do want to get back to that, but one thing that just bothers me a lot is how is Mark Ruffalo able to mess up so many times with spoiling movies and stuff?
Oh my God.
He's done it 3 or 4
Didn't he
times.
spoil Infinity War as it is?
He's like, half everyone will die, and then he was literally saying half of everyone will die in an interview, and then before that he accidentally live streamed part of Thor Ragnarok or something, and then he said something recently which I did not watch because I did not want to have it spoiled. It was something about the title of Avengers 4, and he's
know what he said either.
Can you please cut that out, Jimmy Fallon?
I saw the tweet, but I don't know what he said. Yeah, I didn't look.
And then I was getting comments I was looking at news reports or articles that were saying, Mark Ruffalo fired. I was like, what? Really?
It was
no.
not. It was a joke.
It was just a joke of the Russo brothers saying, Mark, you're fired. I'm like, don't use headlines like that.
I know.
That's the way to get people in.
Clickbait.
You know what's so great?
I love the comments later that are like, this is what the article's about. You're welcome. I love those comments.
I feel like Mark Ruffalo is just not Hulk. What's the person's name?
He's really Bruce Banner.
Yeah, he just is Bruce Banner. He's just playing himself in the movies. I just feel it's the same person.
Like Robert Downey Jr. is.
Yeah.
Oh, I messed up again.
Yeah,
Venom. Good
Venom.
Movie.
I'm glad you guys liked it too, because I was worried. I was worried that because I have a tendency, especially with comic book movies, to just go in and I just enjoy them. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you guys liked it too.
I didn't have very high expectations with this movie just because I was hearing some, bad reviews. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll just go in and enjoy it for what it is.
I'd go watch it again. That's how I know I liked it enough.
This movie was a lot of fun, and that's what movies are supposed to be. They're supposed to be fun and enjoyable, and I don't need a very deep meaning for superhero movies. If there is, great, but if not,
And Tom Hardy just did such a good job, and he co-starred with himself. Because
for those of you who are listening, Wesley is just raising his hands to the sky in happiness. He's like, Tom Hardy!
I love Tom Hardy.
You've got vertical jazz hands.
Yeah, Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors. So I like movies that he's in. But he co-starred with himself. He did the voice of the Venom symbiote.
Yeah, that's right. So, they were actually talking about that, where he actually recorded the voices, and then he had an earpiece that would read the voices to him while he was doing
so he could
acting.
Respond to himself. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That must have been really helpful, especially in the scene where he's in the restaurant and just going absolutely bananas.
Because he makes it so convincing.
Yeah, I love little creative things like that.
He literally looks like he was going insane. I'm just like, I barely understand what this guy's saying, and it's amazing.
It's just like how James Gunn would give a special script to Vin Diesel, who does the voice of Groot, that actually had what Groot was saying, and he would just say, "I am Groot." Yeah, There's a special Groot version of the script.
So much.
Yeah, where he says Groot, I am Groot, in a way that communicates what he actually said. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
My final thoughts on this is that the movie critic in me thinks that the pacing is weird. It's not consistent. There was moments where the pacing was good, but then they messed it up. All the supporting actors and actresses were
forgettable.
forgettable. They
did just enough.
They did just enough, and
I think
when you've got the stellar
neighbor
performance,
did pretty good though.
Well, that's what I mean.
The neighbor,
the extras were surprisingly good.
Yeah, the ones that weren't supposed to matter much were actually fun.
I completely forgot that there was supposed to be a Stanley cameo until that happened.
I know.
I'm just like, that's right.
I feel like they almost break the fourth wall with that one too.
They do.
What did he say? He said something
like, "You take care of yourself, both of you."
Yes, I was like,
how do you
know that? Yeah.
But then another thing is that the supporting, and I think also they just look so much worse compared to Tom Hardy, who just knocked this out of the park.
I know, he just totally he loves
time.
You can just tell how much he loves the character.
You know something that got me?
What?
Usually, like the new boyfriend character, like is really annoying.
Why was he so nice to him?
I
know, like he's such a likable guy.
This is a good new boyfriend. I mean, like I wouldn't feel bad if she stayed with him. I'm sorry, he's a great guy.
I thought he was the most generic character in this entire thing.
He was generic.
No, I thought he was so different from normal boyfriend characters who are usually complete dirtbags, or just like people you don't care about. But this guy, I like this guy. He's like,
I didn't care.
He's a good guy.
He's got no personality.
No, but
I thought the same thing about the villain. I was like, Vanilla's.
Well, see, that's the last thing.
The vanillin was very vanilla.
Generic, but he did his job.
I agree with you though. All the other characters in the movie, other than Eddie Brock, were kind of like They did just enough.
So you had that. You had the pacing issues. The ending was weird and rushed, and they really did not do a good job of developing Riot at all. And on top of that, like every time they teased Riot, it just took you out of the movie, you know. And on top,
the like passing from host to host,
and
he took over a little girl. That's
all
not cool.
that, I want to say, there's just so many not great things in this movie, but somehow, just the movie is so fun and awesome, and you have a great experience watching it, that you just don't care. And this is a movie that strangely I want to hate but can't, because when it comes down to it, I enjoyed this movie, and for me to say that this was actually a bad movie, I'd be lying to myself, because I enjoyed this movie way too much to say it was a bad movie.
I actually think they could have cut out all of that Riot stuff. Why did he need to be followed throughout the movie like that?
They wanted to show that it was moving.
He could have been another symbiote.
He could have just been one of the other ones in the lab.
Here's something, going back to what Will said about how he didn't really want to, like, there's a lot of reasons why not to like it, but still like it. Usually that's something for really bad movies, but this was not a bad movie, I don't think. It's usually like a guilty pleasure movie where you feel like that. I didn't have guilty pleasure about this. I had a lot of fun watching this.
I had regular pleasure about it.
You just feel kind of cheaped out, because I feel like they didn't focus or pay attention to a lot of the other stuff that was going on. That kind of just being, it's like, it seemed lazy in some areas.
A little bit.
So you almost didn't want to reward them for that. But when it comes down to it, it's just a really fun
Everything
movie.
with Eddie Brock and Venom, amazing.
Top notch.
Yeah, you always want to go back to them.
Yeah.
All right.
Any
good stuff. Remarks?
Go see it. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Just really, now you listen to everything that we said. Go see it.
I like.
You're gonna have a fun time. There's so many good jokes in this. I don't even want to spoil any of the jokes. The jokes in this movie is really good.
A lot of the times, movies are saturated with jokes.
Did we actually spoil anything? Yeah, we did a little.
Yeah,
we talked about the ending and all that. Okay. I would have rather had. Speaking of the ending, I would rather have Riot be more of a case where it was one of the then 3 other symbiotes, because I thought that the missing one was going to be Venom, but it wasn't, so that kind of made it confusing.
I thought so too at first.
Yeah, but since it wasn't, you could have just made him one of the other ones, and it wouldn't have made it different. What would have made it better is that if the guy was getting sick of all the other stuff that was going on, sick of Venom, all the stuff,
thought so
then
too.
he took upon himself to
I
put
thought that's what was
going to
happen. Be like,
that would have been better. That would have given way more development to him.
Exactly, and they would have been able to use all that extra time to maybe develop those 2 other things that I had problem with. But
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go see it. Definitely want to see a sequel. I would also love to see this in the MCU if Marvel would. I mean, they're kind of friends with Sony. You know, they work with them on Spider-Man. They work with them on Spider-Man.
They're on talk. They're in speaking terms. Yeah. It's good. All right.
So
I'm gonna flip Gary right now. And something that I've been thinking about recently is young adult novels and movies, which I've had the feeling that they've just been like changing a lot recently. But because originally is basically like a conversation topic for all of us, so we'd all be putting in our 2 cents. But I feel like it's either this young adult series have gotten so saturated and there's so many of them that we can't really appreciate them anymore, and that it's just been kind of ruined by movie adaptations that take so many liberties that they just aren't interesting anymore. They're not the stories that we care about. So I'm just thinking about, okay, so we have Narnia, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that we all like really cared about and liked, and we just got news that Netflix is gonna come up with new movies for that.
A new movie, and they keep teasing
TV
series. We're definitely getting a movie.
I think they're movies. The article I said was new movies.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I saw series thrown in there a couple of times. And
Series of movies.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they're saying, but they said movies and series,
Yeah,
so I
'cause
thought that was weird.
I thought maybe it was going to be TV show at first, and then it was movies, and the movies make sense, because
I think it makes better movies.
the Narnia series isn't big enough to be a TV show.
Yeah, no, there's not enough.
Unless they did like seasons for the individual books.
No, there's not that much. They're not
Maybe
like Lord of the
miniseries.
Rings style of detailed and lore and
Well, they have
things like
miniseries,
that.
like maybe like 2 or 3 episodes or something.
Ooh, that's what they got excited about, is the Lord of the Rings TV show.
Yeah.
True. I would argue that Narnia wouldn't work as a TV aspect because a lot of it that makes it fun is the mystery, and in order to keep that, you have to leave out stuff. Weirdly enough, doing a TV series where you have more time to explain a lot of things would almost take a lot of the fun out of it, because you kind of know everything. You know, like you don't want everything. You don't want everything explained. In a TV series, I feel like that's what they would do.
I guess not.
So
But I'm thinking back to things that most people have grown up with. Like, I didn't grow up with Harry Potter particularly, but that was like one of the big defining young adult book series.
Absolutely.
And they did a
I
really...
didn't watch them until last year or the year before.
I didn't watch them until a couple of years ago either, but I think it was a very defining book series that was for younger audiences, and then people were able to grow up with it, which is amazing. Another series that I didn't really read, I think you might have read it or watched the movies, was Percy Jackson.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And again, I hear that those books were amazing, and then they just they put it down the dump when it came to the movies.
Movies are so forgettable.
Quick rant about that, because I freaking love the Percy Jackson series. Such a good series of books. And it gets so much flack because when you compare these, when you think Percy Jackson, you also think Harry Potter. You think
it's that genre.
Yeah, you think Hunger Games. You
young
think,
adult kids growing into their own, basically, with abilities.
Yeah, and
There's so
those
much of that.
movies were so disgraceful because they. And I know this sounds like an argument you've heard of where it's like, oh, they just ruined what the book had done, stuff like that. No, what I mean by this is they literally threw almost the entire thing in the trash because they changed the story into a way where it would be a single movie story and not a series. So they left out main characters. They left out the main character who was the reason for the whole ending. So their whole motive
Of the first movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their whole motive for who they were facing and all this was completely different. There was so many bizarre twists that they did with this that had nothing. Like, they were giving such a good script for a movie, basically. They did
When
so
you
many
have
things.
a book like that, then you already have basically the foundations for a good script.
Yeah. It was. Oh, and they just.
It's the reason that people are reading the books.
If I remember correctly, the first movie wasn't as bad as the second one.
Well, I didn't watch the second one because I was
Okay.
so
I
mad.
think
Yeah,
only
the
watched-
second one was legitimately just horrible.
I think I only watched the second one actually because I hadn't read the books really. I think I read a couple of the books recently, and again, I probably would have enjoyed them a lot more if I was younger.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for them to do a second one because they literally got rid of the person that there's a reason for a second movie to exist. So the fact that they're like, oh, we're going to continue the storyline.
Wasn't that-
That storyline doesn't exist anymore. You took out the character for that whole plot.
But
Yeah.
they did use the character that was supposed to exist in the first one
yeah,
as the
they
villain
just
in the
pull
second one, right?
You just pull them out of nowhere.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
oh, here he is.
That
Like,
really kills me because I love Greek mythology, and that's like the basis for that series.
Such
so
a
it would have
cool
been so
concept.
cool.
I think one
yeah.
of the biggest things that got me though in the second movie, where like I didn't really care for the movie at all, but it did have Nathan Fillion as like Hermes or something.
Yeah.
And he was a UPS, director or something. Or I thought that was pretty funny. But just going back, it feels like
sorry.
Going back, it just feels like it's gotten so saturated nowadays. I feel like
Twilight's
maybe-
10th anniversary
maybe-
coming up.
nobody cares.
I don't.
See, The thing is that maybe we've just gotten too much of this stuff, because it's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, there's like a young, down in their luck character, and they find out that they're special, and then they go on to like a new world of possibilities, and there's like magical beings.
It's that same genre.
It's the same thing over
I
and
was
over
actually
again.
wondering what this generation's would be of that.
What this generation
Yeah.
would be?
This coming, yeah, because I feel like
What is, because Harry Potter was ours, right?
Yeah, and then that brought
and
on all the other stuff.
And then
that-
Twilight
like-
was kind of ours too.
I mean, we don't want to say that.
I
No, I'm just saying, but if
Our
it's that,
generations.
if it's that bill, yeah. So what's this next generation's? What's here now?
I'm not
I
entirely
don't
sure.
remember.
Well, it's gonna-
Netflix adaptations. That's what we're getting.
anime maybe, because anime is really starting to become mainstream.
No, I mean, like, what is
That
the
specific
young
genre.
adult? What is the young adult novel turned movie series that is
today?
this generate belongs to this? Yeah,
I don't know yet.
Well, I know that there's some stuff that's coming out. Like they were coming out with so the Mortal Instrument books. They were pretty decent. I actually liked them. They were
That's one.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And then they came out with a movie which was so bad. And then they're like, all right, you know what? We're going to do this as a TV series. So that's a pretty good idea. It's like, all right, if you can't do it for the big screen, let's do it for the small screen. I'm okay with that. But the thing is that they changed the characters so much, and then they changed the storylines so much that it's at the point where you don't even care anymore. You like the whole reason is that you like the books, you like the story, you like the characters.
Yeah.
When you change the characters and change the story, it's not what you want anymore.
The movie the movie doesn't have to be exactly like the
No,
book,
you can
but if you change things so much that you don't even recognize them anymore, what's the point?
The point was it's a cash grab at that point.
Exactly.
Because basically they're like, okay, we want the hype from simply slapping this label on the movie, but we don't want to do our research or pay attention to it.
Yeah.
We just want to do our own thing.
But honestly, that's why I don't like Wolverine, Civil War, or those two basically.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I really like the Civil War story.
Yeah, like, and it kills me because the Civil War is a good movie, and I like the way that the story of the MCU is moving. I get why they were there. But
when you look back at the original
premise,
context,
the premise of the movie is so different than the actual Civil War storyline that there are so many missed opportunities. I couldn't enjoy it.
I just don't understand how movie studios cannot get the big picture, because they've been doing this a lot. They did it with, again, I didn't read the books, but I heard that they diverged greatly with the movies, was the Divergent series.
Yeah.
First movie, like, I enjoyed the first movie. Like,
it was decent.
I'm invested in this, and I saw the trailer for the second one, and I heard that it was so different from the book. I'm like, what's the point of watching a series if it's not what it's supposed to be exactly?
Is the Maze Runner series any good?
Okay.
The movies?
So I'd say that the books are decent. I read the books, and I was
the
like,
books are not even that
so they're
awesome.
They're kind of generic, but they're still fun. Like, they're a good read. Like, the story, the characters are interesting enough. But then the first movie was pretty good. They left out a lot of stuff that was very important to the characters in the first movie, which I was like, all right, that's going to be a problem later on. And then, again, I didn't watch the second and third movie, but just by watching the trailers, I could see that they had done stuff. They had taken so many liberties to the point where it's not the story that I semi-enjoyed.
Can I share a fun fact real quick?
Sure.
So, I've been watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy again lately, and I've been learning
Took a lot of...
because Lord of the Rings is so familiar to me, but it's because of the movies. I haven't actually read the books, and so I just think Lord of the Rings is those movies.
Yeah.
When you don't realize there's a lot that's different. I know some of the backstory, so I know some about what's missing. But one thing I learned the other day is that in the books, there isn't actually a physical eye of Sauron like in the movies.
Yeah.
They kind of.
It's like a metaphorical.
It's a metaphorical eye,
piercing
like a
through time to
presence.
see the.
It's more like an overall presence of Sauron.
It was difficult for them to explain that in the movie, so I understand. So with those movies, I get it.
No, because Lord of the Rings did it good. If they're gonna change things for movies, they did it good.
I'd say with Lord of the Rings, they did a good job because they had to cut it down because it's such a huge.
They're 3-hour movies as it is.
Yeah,
they did all they could to include as much as they could.
There's a fair amount of stuff that made fans very, very mad, but I feel like they were as faithful as they could try to be.
At least they're not the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, the Hobbit movies.
I didn't even bother to watch the second two. I saw the first one and I was like,
I'm good.
I have the movies, and honestly, when I was watching the third movie, I was laughing because it was just so bad.
Isn't
times.
it like isn't it like an only like 2 pages left at that point?
It was one chapter basically, or one or two chapters, and they made it into a 3. If it was 2 movies, I would have probably liked it a lot.
It was
more.
originally supposed to be 2 movies.
It was supposed to be, and then again, it's a cash grab.
Yeah,
People
they're like, oh, it might as well be making
it
a trilogy.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you compare it to the Lord of the Rings, which is an ample amount of resources, and then you got Hobbit, which is
if
just
you have to condense it, I understand it, but keep the story and the characters.
The Hobbit movies just felt really different too. Like you were talking about a couple episodes ago about the frame rates?
Yeah,
48 frames.
That's one thing, and another thing is it just doesn't feel as down to earth as the original trilogy.
It felt saturated and so unbelievably like. I felt like most of the characters were OP. They were like, there's nothing that can touch them, basically.
The dwarves.
And basically, they're all doing these crazy moves that would never work.
Why did they send a company of dwarves for the ring if they're that good?
They could have done everything and anything. They don't even need an army at that point.
Yeah.
There's one point in the movie where there's an army of dwarves that are being like hard pressed against all the orcs, and they're like, we can't stand it against them. And then 13 dwarves run out of like the mountain. They're like, we're gonna rally. It's like, okay, now we're winning. Because of 13 more dwarves who are so OP, it just doesn't work. I know that they were trying to give those characters some sort of... Okay, with 13 dwarves, there wasn't a lot of personality to them in the books. Mm-hmm. In this one, they were trying to give them a little more personality. But again, there need to be consequences to stuff.
Yeah, because The Hobbit is one book, guys.
Yeah.
It's one book.
That's the thing, is that with Lord of the Rings, you felt like the characters were in dire danger so many times. With this one... I didn't feel that way.
Is the Hobbit book bigger than or longer than any one of the 3 Lord of the Rings books?
No.
It's not?
It's small.
So I don't even understand that.
It's small, yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they
were trying to add other stuff.
They totally could have made The Hobbit into 2 movies.
They literally made a cartoon.
Or even
of
one.
Hobbit. The Hobbit cartoon was actually pretty decent. They left out some stuff, but it was pretty true.
You know what I think was fun? There was a Hobbit video game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I actually enjoyed that. I think Telltale made it actually.
Really?
Yeah.
There was actually a scene where you had to I think
it was fun.
Do you remember the scene where you had to go and you had to like get away from the trolls, or you're just trying to steal something from them? You're just crawling around as the Hobbit. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because you played as Bilbo.
It was like Assassin's Creed, but with the Hobbit.
And it had like a unique.
Awesome.
The video game had like a unique art style. Like it was kind of it was pretty cartoony. It was fun. It was fun.
It was really good.
Well, one thing that I think was another good adaptation as well in this field of bad ones was the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games was really good.
I really liked the first movie.
I liked the first 2 movies, and then the second 2 movies were just...
Wait, no.
I do like the second one.
No,
I saw it in theaters.
Don't like the first one.
You don't like the first one?
No, because so here's the thing, is that there's a difference between the first one and the rest ones because they changed a lot of the staff from the first one to the second one. First one...
The staff? What?
Like the production. I'm sorry, I should say production.
Well, they changed the director. It
wasn't
a lot of shaky cam anyway, so that was better.
They changed more than just the director from the first one. They changed a lot of things because they got a lot of criticism from how they did that movie, because the first one is the first book especially is such an easy movie to make, and it wasn't necessarily bad. They just they could have made it so much more epic, so much more impactful.
So it's funny because I actually liked the first one a lot, and
have you read the books?
And then I felt like the rest of them were really.
You know what it is? You know what it is?
What?
It's because the first one just makes it much better the movie than the rest of the books.
Oh, really?
So it's easy to like that one because because everything is new. It's such an easy concept to make.
Yeah, because then I feel like the rest of the movies are really different. Like it's like Hunger Games about the Hunger Games, and then it becomes so much more about more than that.
Actually, like a good point was like the first 2 movies of the Hunger Games movies, or the first 2 movies of that series were really, I think personally, were quite accurate to the books, and I really appreciate them. But then the last 2 movies, which was originally one book, they added a lot of stuff that I didn't really care about, and to the point where it just felt saturated and stretched out, and it wasn't that great.
Because you know what it is that there's an awkward amount of space for that, where for that case, it's almost like you need a movie and a half. Mm-hmm. 2 movies, and they probably know this, 2 movies is a bit much, but at the same time, 1 movie wouldn't do it justice.
What about one 3-hour long movie?
Well, then when they start talking about they would rather
this isn't Christopher Nolan.
They would rather do 2 movies than a really long one movie because they make more money.
All the Lord of the yes,
the extended edition of the Lord of the Rings movies. That's the 3-hour long ones.
No, the regular editions are 3 hours long. Yes, they are. Yeah, they are because
are you saying 2 hours and 40 minutes?
No, I mean 3 hours, like 2 hours and 59 minutes, like. Because they have the Fellowship of the Ring on Netflix right now. Yeah. It's not the extended version, and it's 2 hours and 59 minutes.
How do you know it's not the extended version?
Because I've seen the extended version. It has more.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really liked The Hunger Games. I thought it was one of the better examples of
faithful adaptation for the most part.
For sure. And I thought they just did a really good job. A really good job of capturing the subtle emotions that were going on in the movie because there's a lot of inner monologue in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, well, it's from first person.
Well, yeah, because Katniss has so many
that's not easy to adapt to movies, I don't think.
No, it really isn't because she has so many thoughts about what's right, what's wrong, and all these kinds of things.
So it's from her perspective, not from the reader's perspective of seeing what's going on.
Right. So it's hard to capture that.
That was also the first movie I had ever seen Jennifer Lawrence in.
It was
that was before I didn't like her.
Wait, you don't like her?
I don't really like Jennifer Lawrence.
I did really like her, and
I liked her in that movie. I was like, she's cool. She's not like super out there. You know what I mean?
She's really good at showing subtle emotion.
Yeah,
in a way
exactly.
Where you can see that there's you can see emotion behind her eyes almost. You know.
Mm-hmm. The nice thing about her character in that one is that she wasn't over the top, overpowered.
Yes,
she got hurt too.
I liked who Katniss was in the first movie, and then she just becomes really extra. Like the rest of the series, I felt like anyway.
No, well, I felt like that in the last 2 movies.
That's kind of how she is in the books, though.
Oh, really?
Because they force her to be because now she's a hero because she's won the Hunger Games. Yeah. So they use her as a symbol, but she doesn't really want to be. This is the whole conflict within herself. Like everybody wants her to be the symbol of peace, but she doesn't really want to be, and so.
I guess what I mean is I felt like her character in the first movie was more unique, and then in the rest of the movies she just becomes that I'm a strong woman kind of character. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what everybody wanted her to be.
One of the things, that's what everyone saw her as in the stories. So they were like, "This is what we expect you to be." So that's what she had to live up to, basically. Especially in the last book, where they're just like, "All right, you have to be the symbol of."
Well, do they make it clear enough that she's not really that person and she's struggling? Because it's been a while since I've seen the movie.
Oh, not to the people in the book. It's they script the
I know.
videos.
I know.
Script
if you watch the last 2 movies, she is messed up in the head. She has PTSD.
I actually haven't seen part 2 of Mockingjay, and I don't remember part 1.
Well, so I would recommend watching those back to back.
Own them?
No, I think they're on Netflix and Hulu, possibly.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I think at least
Mockingjay 1 and 2.
Because
maybe part 2.
I'll look around.
Because especially the ending to part... I won't spoil it for you, but the ending to part 2 is really, really good. The final note that they end on...
I guess so.
How accurate is it? Did you already say that?
It was fairly accurate, I think. Okay. It was the story.
Okay.
Yeah, they did it justice, I think.
Cool.
But
it
was stretched out with the 2 movies. I get how they had to do that with Harry Potter. It made sense. Mm-hmm. But with this one, the last book was actually, I think, I'm not sure, but I think it was rushed from the writer. She had to rush it because it was on such high demand, and the movies were coming out at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Or they're in production.
Well, I think the thing is, and it's the Hunger Games suffers from the same thing, where Harry Potter, there was a lot of explaining. When you have such an epic movie that you're expecting to conclude all this stuff, the 2-movie format is good and bad in the way where you get a lot of the boring setup dealt with in the first half, but then it just ends up being a less interesting movie because of that. That being said, though, the second half, the very last movie of Harry Potter is freaking awesome. Arguably the best one out of the whole bunch.
So great.
But it wouldn't have been wouldn't have worked without that first part. Mm-hmm. So it's it's the nitty-gritty that you have to do in order to get the epic last movie.
I don't feel like the Hunger Games needed that build-up, though, honestly.
Not as much, and I think that was more trying to copy Harry Potter, to be honest. And really trying to stretch out because it's only 3 books, and they only have 3 movies. Meanwhile, Harry Potter has 8 movies, and they're like, we like to milk this cow just a little bit more.
I'm wondering if that is, a good thing and a bad thing for the new Fantastic Beasts movies, because it's not based off of any specific thing.
I didn't really enjoy the Fantastic Beasts.
Well, that's the thing. I'm saying is that it doesn't really have to worry about being faithful to any particular book, so they're able to have freedom. But at the same time, they're just pulling from the world that it comes from.
Is there...
Wait, one more series. Are you guys familiar with Aragon at all?
Oh, yeah.
I wish they would bring that back and do
that
it
was
right.
because
that would be really cool. Yeah.
Is there... one thing that I would like to kind of like, as far as my thoughts, is there any movie that wasn't faithful to its source that was good?
I don't think so in particular, but something that I was really sad about.
I bet you there is some. I just can't remember.
Probably.
Ready Player wasn't that bad.
That was not really faithful, but it was still pretty fun.
It was good. Yeah.
It had a couple of things. Something that did make me kind of sad though was that Ender's Game, the movie. I really liked the movie. I really liked the books, but the problem was that there's so much controversy about the writer. Like he has a lot of stuff, so it's to the point where people don't care about the books or the movie.
I heard there was a lot of wasted potential in that as well.
With the movie, maybe, but I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it did a pretty good job with the characters. Again, there is a lot in the books, which, again, I really, really appreciated the books. I thought they were really fun.
And I want to make clear that when we're talking about like bad adaptations, there's two ways to do a bad adaptation. There's one where you got like the Percy Jackson case, where you just literally don't care. Yeah. It's very obvious watching the movie that they didn't try.
It's not a book adaptation, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live-action movie,
was so bad.
I haven't watched it, but I know it's bad.
It's so bad you don't want to watch it. There's no reason to.
I don't need that in my life.
But no, I think there's ones that are bad because they don't try, and there's ones that are bad even though they tried. And there's a big difference, because you can tell the ones where, they tried their best. Like, I think... Divergence.
The first movie, I think they tried.
They tried with those movies. It just didn't work out. Percy Jackson and like Aragorn, like they just didn't care. You know, they didn't care.
It's actually Aragon. I wonder if people went to see the movie because it sounded like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
And I think when you're watching it, especially as a fan of that content, it's really easy to tell right away what they're going with.
I couldn't really get through the Aragon series. I know that they were pretty good, but for some reason, I couldn't get into them. I know that there's a lot of books that I really wish they would turn into TV series or movies. Like, did you guys ever read The Ranger's Apprentice?
No.
Those are really, really good
read?
Books. I would highly suggest them as a TV show.
My prediction is that we're going to see less. I think this phase that we're talking about is whittling out, because I feel like people aren't reading these novels as much as they used to. You know, Harry Potter, I feel like itself extended that phase of kids reading books, because now technology just isn't as big of a thing anymore, and Harry Potter really let that fire one last time almost to have this last big wave of books. But I don't think, honestly...
But they just weren't that... most of them weren't that great, and again, because they
weren't
faithful...
Yeah, I know.
People don't care about them.
I'm just saying is that I think in the future there won't be those types of books to even make movies of anymore. Like the source materials for those types of movies won't exist in the future.
Not. But I also know that there's going to be a lot of remakes of movies or movies that have books.
We're
in the remake era.
We're in the remake live action era now, and I don't think this era is going to be much better than the last, unfortunately.
No, I think we had a couple of good things in the last one, but it's disappointing, I think.
Well, I was going to go to a happier topic, but I don't know. It's neither or. So I wanted to talk about... I want to talk specifically about the importance of the Aquaman movie, because DC is at a very crucial point right now where they've got this new wave of movies.
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. Did you just see what Alex did?
I just whispered.
He picks up his mug and as he's bringing it to his face, he goes, "Jason Momoa." And he sips it and it echoes into his mug.
Well, I think he's awesome. He's a good actor.
I do.
Okay, I don't know if he's a great actor, but he's a cool guy.
He's not a great actor.
He's a cool guy.
No. Okay,
he's a man, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's say what we mean by that. I think he's a good actor. He's not a diverse actor.
He
can play one dude really well, and that's what he's playing.
The big burly guy who can take on anything. He's a man's man.
He's a manly man. Yes. Anyway, continue.
But I want to say that a lot of DC's success depends on Aquaman, and I think that's the reason.
I just think that's because they're on thin ice at this point.
Right.
I think whatever because it's their next one. I think whatever their next movie was.
Right. But that being said, out of the next movies that we see coming out, and I understand why it fell the way it did. It's the riskiest one. And I say it's the riskiest one because it's the safest one. And if this movie is even disappointing, then DC's lost. And that's, I feel like...
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, like, it's the riskiest one because it should be the easiest to pull off. So if it doesn't, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they just... because the thing is that... Is
it really the easiest to pull off, though?
Why would it be the easiest one to pull
off?
I feel like Wonder Woman 2 would be pretty...
A movie about an underwater world I would think would be hard.
I think it's going to be difficult, and from what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, besides the fact that, there's no bubbles coming out of them when they talk.
Here's the thing, is that every movie...
He said there wouldn't be any of those.
Every movie has that thing where you say, oh, it's a superhero movie, but it's got this one interesting thing about it, and that's not enough. The thing is that we have so many superhero movies now that... As far as genre-wise, this genre-wise isn't any different than any of your typical superhero movies, and that's why it's risky, because you've got the other movies that you got coming out. You've got Shazam, which is something totally different. It's going to be, it looks like a legit
I'm so
comedy.
Confident that's going to be a hit. I really am.
Wonder Woman 2, which is a sequel to an already successful movie.
Yeah, as long as it keeps doing what it already has done right, it'll be fine.
That's pretty hard to mess up at that point. And then you've got the Joker one, which is really going to be really emphasizing the anti-hero.
Yeah,
see, all these things...
Not anti-hero. It's going to be a movie about a bad guy.
Okay.
But it's a character piece. That's the fun thing.
Have you guys noticed that it seems like the riskiest movies are the ones that don't really take place in our world per se? Like, we had the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Those are really risky. Avengers Infinity War was also pretty risky because it was in space.
Oh, you're saying Atlantis underwater.
Yeah, same with Thor, I think, including with Atlantis, because we're not just it's not like a hero going and getting stuck on Earth that we are used to.
I think what you're getting at is not the fact that it's on a different world. I think it's that it's harder
it's not on a different world, technically.
Well, it's harder to relate to. Movies are better when you can relate to them, and that's one of the DC's problems. See, DC is different in Marvel, where Marvel's usually takes humans and makes them into superheroes, where DC takes gods and then makes them into heroes.
Yeah.
So... And it's not bad, it's just different. And one thing that DC struggles with is making their heroes relatable.
A little bit more, yeah. I know you want to talk more about why the movie will be important, but I kind of want to give some of my thoughts because they just released that for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was a very long trailer.
And I want to, because, okay, so here's the thing. The things I like about it are, I think the movie has a really good cast. Like, the people that they've cast, I think it has a really good cast.
Don't they have Dolph Lundgren or something?
Yeah, he's in there somewhere.
He's the dad, I think?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's King Atlanta or whatever the king's name is.
Black Manta looks super cool.
Exactly.
How does he see?
So here's the thing.
His eyes are not over here, are they?
Hold on. I'm on a train. Let me get into station.
I like trains.
I like trains. So I think it has a really great cast, and I think that the way, looking at that 5-minute clip, I like the way that they're using Black Manta and the way that they're using Ocean Master.
Okay.
Because you have that big chase scene. It looks like Ocean Master might be employing the help of Black Manta. So I like that. I like the usage of those characters there.
Ocean Master loses, and then he's like, all right, I have to take care of...
That could be it too, because Ocean Master is definitely the villain of the movie, because that's the direct conflict right there. Right.
Well,
he wants the crown.
You know that I'm wondering.
And Aquaman's actually the heir.
They got to be careful how they handle multiple villains, because sometimes that can end.
That's what I'm saying. Is that could be bad, but what I'm seeing so far, I like about the way they're using the two villains.
Something that I'm wondering about is what if that scene where what's his hammerhead guy? The guy who's with his eyes.
That's Black Manta.
Black Manta. I wonder if he's actually sent before they actually go to Atlantis to take care of Arthur before he gets there. Yeah,
it does look like he might have a mercenary kind of role.
That's back when they're still in the desert in that area.
Yeah.
So
one thing that I hope happens that I'm a little bit concerned about is they've kind of changed Aquaman's character a little bit. Because normally Aquaman is very he's very established and confident and stuff like that. Whereas you have this Aquaman that is kind of a rebel and he doesn't really know if he wants to be. Yeah, he's a bad boy. Doesn't know if he wants the crown. I hope that
he looks like he came out of Sons of Anarchy.
I don't mind that, but I want him to end up being the Aquaman that I know. That's what, so I hope that's where it goes.
Speaking of which, I hope they have a new costume.
Yes, which is super cool. I just hope they haven't changed his character entirely, for good. I hope it's part of his arc to get him where he's supposed,
Yeah, going back to what I was talking about, where you change the character too much. It's
exactly.
not the character that you care about.
Yeah, and Yeah, that super comic book accurate Aquaman costume though. Like, yeah.
I don't know how he moves in that thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he can move.
Looks so cool.
So my concerns with the movie so far is not that it looks like it's going to be bad. It's just that all the trailers have only been... I feel like my hype for this movie has been flat for the entire year, and the trailers really haven't made me more excited for the movie. Well, it looks exactly as expected, which isn't bad
because they didn't really release a lot of information until recently. I think their schedule of showing us the movie has been weird. I think that might contribute to the way you're feeling about it.
This feels like it's by the numbers movie. There, I don't think there's any surprises that we're gonna find really big or any twists. Or we basically know
Wonder Woman wasn't any different, but Wonder Woman was good.
Because I totally understand. Because I feel kind of like that too. But I think it'll be good. I'm trying to find an interesting way to say that, but that's really my thought. Is I think we'll go and see it. I'm
excited.
And it'll be really, really good.
Here's the thing. Why I'm concerned about Aquaman is that Aquaman is setting up to be a very stereotypical superhero movie, and the reason why that's a problem now, because we have so many to compare them to, is that when you're entering this specific genre of superhero movies, which is the one that we've all seen of, and there's a plethora of, then you really have to do something different to stand out. Because if you do just enough isn't enough anymore, because there's already 10 other movies that do that better than what you have done. Yeah. So the fact why I like Shazam and Joker, because those are fields that haven't been explored as much, so it's harder for them to mess up. Because
the Shazam concept really is unique.
Yeah. They're going to really almost make the path as they are taking it, whereas this is a well-traveled path that so many other movies have already done, so they really have to do some stuff to make you no, this is why this is one of the best superhero straight-up action movies that there is.
It looks the most like a Marvel superhero movie.
It really does.
That any of the DC ones have so far, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it can't ride on that.
Exactly.
On being
you can't just be a Marvel movie at this point.
Exactly.
You gotta do
the
you.
problem is that, like it or not, DC is going to be affected by the Marvel movies. They'll see what works. What doesn't work. That's the problem. Is they can't make their own.
We need team ups.
They can't.
No.
They can't just think of all right, this is how we
Spider-Man.
They're affected by an outside source, so they can't really make a movie specifically the way that they might want it to be made, or do it
Marvel's
in their own way, I guess, because they'll be all right. Well, there's something that works. Let's try some of that.
Yeah.
It's not their own recipe.
You're not saying that you're not optimistic for it anymore. Because I'm still really optimistic about Aquaman.
I just think that there is a lot at stake, and
definitely.
And I feel like the margin of error for Aquaman is much smaller
especially
than most
after
movies
Justice
are
League.
giving. Right? Because here's the thing. Two different scenarios here. If Aquaman is great, it gives you everything that you wanted and a little bit more. It needs just that little bit more of really bringing Aquaman as someone as a new beloved superhero that everyone's excited to see in the movies now. Then Shazam is going to really profit from it. Wonder Woman is going to be great, and Joker is going to be even more amazing. Joker that won't be that hard to get people in for. But the thing is that people are losing hope in DC, and you can't just rely on the DC fanboys anymore. You need more than that.
What I do like...
It's okay, buddy.
It's okay. What I do like is you haven't heard many bad things about Aquaman yet.
No.
Which is good. There hasn't been reshoots. Nope. That's what I like, because all of those things have preceded the other DC movies.
Except for Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, except for Wonder Woman. So you haven't heard anything bad about Aquaman yet, which is good.
Right. And I just think, like I said, there's no legitimate reason to be concerned other than the fact that the path that they're taking is well traveled, so they really have to do something. Like I said, you can't just do a good movie in this type of genre now. It's you need a hook, need or a trident, you need something. You just need something else. If they have
some people
a
wield
good way,
a hammer, other people
let's talk about ways that they could do this right. Nail the villains. I'm pretty confident that they've got Aquaman nailed down. I'm pretty sure that we can feel confident that he's going to be at least decent.
Ocean Master looks... I'm excited for Black Manta, but other than that...
I think Ocean Master will surprise us, one, just because I like the actor.
Who's the actor?
I forget his name.
Okay.
But he's in the Conjuring movies.
Wait, is he the Exorcist guy?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
And he played Night Owl in Watchmen.
Okay.
So
Because especially when Marvel is really up in the ante on villains now. They're on a good streak with villains recently.
Yeah, more or less.
So, like, I think Ocean Master will surprise us. I think he'll be good.
I want to be surprised.
Black Manta, I'm actually pretty certain will be good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot from Black Manta.
One thing that is nice is that DC from the get-go has better villains to work with. I feel like one of Marvel's weak points is that they have a lot, like we were talking about the last one. Oh, it's Ant-Man, but he's bad, you know?
Yeah, yellow.
Again, that's going back to the whole thing that Marvel didn't have a lot of characters, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe did not have a lot of characters to work with specifically, because they didn't have the X-Men, they did not have Spider-Man, they did not have the Fantastic Four, so they made those characters good. They can make their villains good too. The thing is that DC already has the good villains. They just have to do it
DC has
right.
everything. They haven't lost any of their characters to licensing or anything like that. They have their whole thing.
So utilize it.
Yeah. They should not have a hard of a time as they are.
I've been saying the same thing the whole time. They just need to slow down and do these standalone movies to build a foundation to work with instead of trying to rush it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're doing a really good path with Shazam, Wonder Woman 2, and Joker. And like I said, they just need to get this one right, and they'll be on the path to success to really match with Marvel.
Yes.
And let's be clear, that's what I want to see. I want Marvel to have I want Marvel to have a competition, to always be on their feet and always continuing to make new and better things.
Two good comic book universes.
Marvel doesn't really have competition now, does it?
No,
because DC isn't doing that.
Yeah,
great.
at the moment, because here's another thing: DC hasn't come out with a movie in over a year now. I think, no, not quite a year. We're getting there.
Almost.
By
November.
the time Aquaman comes out, it'll be a year.
Yeah, because if exactly a year will be sometime in November.
And the last ones that we have to show for it, we have Justice League, we have Suicide Squad, we have what else came out from DC?
Yeah,
Wonder Woman,
Man
of Steel, Batman v Superman.
Yeah, so like
2 out of those movies were ones that were like pretty decent.
Yeah, Man of Steel and Wonder Woman were good. The others ones were.
And that being said, I think Wonder Woman is the only one that's not debatable.
Yes.
Man of Steel
Wonder Woman
is still in the debatable.
I would say the first 2/3 of Wonder Woman is good. Last third's
really?
Again, the villain is not great.
I liked Ares. You can say that, but I liked Ares a lot.
don't like seeing Professor Lupin like that. Come on.
I like Ares.
Wasn't great.
I like Ares a lot. Yeah, no, you're right. Wonder Woman is definitely good, and Man of Steel is more kind of like a like some people didn't like. Yeah.
So, and here's the thing: is like me, regardless of what Aquaman does, I'm still going to see Shazam. Mm-hmm. You know, but the average movie goer
will be a little bit discouraged.
Yeah, they're not gonna have any faith in DC if they don't get Aquaman right at this point.
Yeah.
And like it sucks that so much pressure is being put on Aquaman, because really it should just be a fun time to bring back this character that has not seen a lot of attention.
They put themselves in a bad position.
Yeah. So they didn't intentionally do this, because the thing is that a year ago it wasn't like this. But Marvel has been on such an awesome trend lately that gap,
except for
from
the James
them
Gunn.
not doing anything, so they'd naturally been declining, and the only thing we can remember is looking back at Justice League and Suicide Squad. It's like, yeah, I'm really glad that DC's done around right now, and they keep going down, not because they're doing anything wrong, but just because they haven't done anything, and the last memories we have of them aren't exactly the best. So all we have to look forward to is just what's coming up ahead. And meanwhile, we have Avengers Infinity War comes out, which is arguably the best superhero movie of all time.
I do want to say this, though, that I think Marvel has a serious problem on their hands with the Guardians of the Galaxy thing.
Yeah.
They're going to have some loose ends if they don't figure out.
And I'm not saying that Marvel doesn't have their own problems.
Yeah.
They have, as if the expectations and stakes weren't high enough for Infinity War. The second part, the expectations are even higher and the stakes are even higher.
And Captain Marvel's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Again, a big problem that I have with DC right now is that they have so many animated movies that are really, really good.
Yeah.
Why can't they just make that into live action?
Just put that effort into the live action ones.
Better.
Yeah.
I just watched Batman Bad Blood, and that one
because that's on Netflix now.
Yeah, it was really decent.
Is it good? Yeah.
They have most of the animated movies on Hulu.
Is that the one that comes out after Batman vs. Robin?
I think so.
Because I know that they're connected.
I think so, yeah. But they have the characters.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's because Batman's one of the most relatable superheroes that DC has.
Well, that's not the only one
work with.
And everybody in his family.
A huge
Batman
portion
family.
of the animated series is Teen Titans.
I heard that Titans is really good.
I doubt it.
No, seriously.
When is it
people,
it's
critics, It comes out soon. Critics are saying that they really like Titans.
It's supposed to come out on Netflix, right?
No, DC streaming.
It said Netflix.
Netflix internationally.
What does that mean?
Not for America.
What the?
Because
it's American actors.
Listen, the DC streaming service is domestic. So it's going to come out exclusively on the DC streaming service here in the US. But since that streaming service doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, Netflix got the international rights to Titans. They do that with a lot. Netflix is actually way better internationally. They have a lot more.
I got so excited when I saw that it said it was coming from Netflix. I'm like, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's the way it is with a lot of things. International Netflix has so much more to offer.
We should just move so we can get international Netflix.
Is there a way we can like change to the like?
Yeah, let's move to Ireland.
No. If you get a PS,
let's get some beer.
I like shamrocks. Wow, that was bad.
That was really bad. I'm
sorry.
I'm sure we've insulted somebody here.
I'm sure I'm part Irish somewhere.
I was just thinking if you get a PS4 that's like region locked for Europe, maybe you could find a way.
My phone is actually an international model.
Oh, maybe but you know what? Your Netflix account wouldn't be from Europe.
It's terrible.
You would have to become a citizen wherever you were.
It's terrible. I was just thinking I could go visit my family in Norway just to watch Netflix.
Hey guys, I just wanted to watch Titans without paying for it. Nice to see you.
That's funny.
Oh, you guys are going to bed? Okay, I'll just be awake for another 8 hours.
But yeah, so like I said, as always, rooting for DC. I'm not gonna lie, I like Marvel better, but it doesn't mean I don't want DC to succeed. Competition is always good, and when it comes down to it, more superhero movies and more good superhero movies is good.
Since you don't read the comics, you don't really have a reason to not like Marvel better. You know what I mean? Because you only have the movies to base on. And the movies
really love Batman, though. I think the movies are awesome.
A live action Court of Owls, please, because I really like that storyline.
Yes, they should do that.
Do that one.
But yeah, like I said, so I really want them to succeed, but they just have. I think as this Aquaman movie gets closer and closer, I realize that the stakes. Stakes are like it's now setting. It's like this is a big deal, not just because the movie itself, but this is really going to play in the hand of DC's fate.
Future is writing on
because here's what I'm saying: like if it's not good, then they're just. I don't feel like that the newer movies are going to make enough money. Like I don't think that it's gonna DC is gonna start having financial problems because the thing is that DC as a company, as Marvel did, movies are really expensive. So them as a company, movies is their biggest investments and also their biggest returns. So not only is it the biggest money sinker from a company standpoint, but it's what generates the majority of your revenue afterwards. So if those don't become successes, if no one cares about Aquaman, no one cares about seeing his products, no one buys a DVD, no one sees him, if in the future stuff, no one cares about Aquaman, no merchandise sales, no one buys the DVD, no sales on that, no one sees the future movies. Star Wars story. Yeah, it just goes down. Well,
but I like Solo.
That's a different situation.
Yeah.
But I just feel like everybody's in the right place to give Aquaman a right chance, but only just enough. I feel like if this isn't good, they're going to lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
I
think I actually do want to say something about Solo now, though. Because, I just think the situation with Solo was ridiculous.
It is.
Solo is so, uber pop. Star Wars is so uber popular, and then they have one movie that was a little bit controversial with whether people liked it or not, and they're just oh my
freak out!
I know
my feelings. Oh my gosh!
My feelings are hurt that movie was like a 7 instead of a 9.
I hate that.
You know what I mean?
Subpar.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Did something happen to her?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, that's really all I have to say, and I just I wish the best for him, but man, I think it was worth pointing out that this is more than just Aquaman.
Yeah.
This is it could be a very, one way or another, I can't see how this doesn't become a big deal for DC. Either this is the movie that brings DC out of the rut that they've been in, or this is the movie that dooms them.
And finally puts the last nail on the coffin.
If Aquaman doesn't do well, we may never see that Joker movie. In the cascading effect that happens. Can you imagine that?
I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
It's just so far off where I feel like it could happen.
I don't think it's that far off.
If it was 2 years down the road from Aquaman, then maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's coming out next year, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Aquaman had come out 2 months ago and tanked, then I could see it. But I think we're past that threshold
Just
now.
an opinion.
Yeah. That's fair.
All right, that's all I have.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us.
That was good. That was good, guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good job.
Stay kind, geeks.